BC Radio. Like I said, this morning, our prime guest is the Minister of Information, Cultural Affairs, and Tourism, and board chair of the Liberia Broadcasting System, Honorable Jerolinmek Matthew Piah, making his first radio appearance since his appointment, subsequent confirmation by the Liberian Senate. He's here. I'm joined on this interview by my colleagues from Sky FM and Prime FM, Kevin Demi of Prime FM, and Matthias Labendi of Sky FM. This interview has been relayed, of course, on Sky and Prime FM. We hope to be joined by Clarence Jackson of OKFM. We understand that this interview will also be relayed on OKFM as well. And so I'd like to say, before we invite and introduce the minister, Kevin Matthias, good morning, welcome.
Good morning, Vavle. Good morning to our valuable listeners. It is an opportunity, a pleasure, by the way, to be here this morning. Good morning to the Honorable Minister, Minister Jerolinmek Matthew Piah. It's good to be here.
Kevin?
My pleasure to be here this morning. I'm very grateful to the Almighty God. Good morning to the people of Liberia. Good morning to our valued and cherished listeners this morning. Again, I'd like to say good morning to Liberia's Minister of Information, in Jerolinmek Matthew Piah. And I also like to use this time to say congratulations to him and his deputy, Daniel Sando. And I also want, before I forget, my former workmate and media colleague in whom I so very respect. I know he didn't want me to do this. Matthew Yempi, I'd like to say good morning and welcome.
Great. And Honorable Minister, would like to say it's a pleasure to be speaking with you at this time. Welcome again to ELBC. I mean, this is your home. But good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Vafle. Good morning to Matthias and Kelvin. And to our people listening, it's good to be not just back home, but to be on state radio. I have always said state institutions are our priorities, in as much as we do everybody else. It would have been a wrong step if I have appeared on any other platform before beginning with state radio. So I'm glad that I was able to keep that commitment.
Thank you very much. In 2017, you left government as a press secretary. 2024, you back in government as a minister of information. Tell us, how does that feel? How does that sound to you? What's the feeling like? What's your impression?
So I believe service, whether in the public or private sector, should come with a growth trajectory. When I entered the public space, I entered as an ordinary employee at the Ministry of Gender. That was around 2003. And then I became a planning officer in that same ministry. Then I led a project. Many of you who will remember, we had the National Child Rights Observatory Group, NACRO. It was a project within the Ministry of Gender. Then I became an assistant minister, then deputy minister.
Agenda?
Deputy minister at the Ministry of Information, by assistant minister at Gender.
Oh, okay.
And then acting minister of information for some 3 to 4 months, press secretary. So if you look at that, it was a growth pattern, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you reach the level of minister, you know you arrive based on a real process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying those who may not have passed through those processes and just get appointed to the top are not qualified or there's a wrong thing, but you feel more fulfilled when you see yourself growing through the ranks and file of your public service to country. So yes, it's not a surprise if you're being an ordinary employee, if you're being an assistant minister, if you've been a deputy minister, if you've been an acting minister, if you've been a press secretary, then it's okay that you can be a minister.
Tying that to my colleague's initial question to you, I know we have a lot of issues on our plate here, but I'm concerned about when you were informed about the job as Minister of Information. What did you envision? What did you think about, especially with your relationship with the media? This old order of this person is not in our line, this person in our line. We want to know what is what you envision, what is what you envisaged for the government and the Liberian media moving forward.
My personal relationship with the media over the years has been very good. That's the reason why I'm very close to many of you. It does not compromise your work, but we're friends. Senior editors, media owners, the Ronald C. Timas Girate, Philip Brown, the late Philip Wisse, and you name them. These are all personal friends. They have a great deal of respect for me. In fact, many of them were concerned after the election, calling me personally, whether I wanted to come home. And that they thought that I could be just the best choice for President Bouakar's information minister. And I said, well, the ball is in the president's court. He will decide who the team members are in any capacity. Notwithstanding, I left Liberia, went to the United States, went to school on taxpayers' dollars, right? So if the people sent you to school and you are requested to come and serve them, who are you to say no? So it was always at the back of my mind that when called upon, no matter what the circumstances were, I will come. Though it was a difficult decision. I have two young daughters that I'm so attached to. And those of you who will monitor my activities on social media, you will see how I was inseparable with those kids. But life goes on. They are with their mother. They're going to be okay. But I had an obligation to my country and people, and so I'm here.
So, I just want to add up before we go into the main talking points here this morning. Minister, somewhere I read your quote of saying that you intend to come with this single approach that is synchronizing government information, all agencies, corporations of government coming together and ensuring that you present the information to the public in a way that there will be no contradiction. What does that mean? Is it that, communications individuals at those bureau agencies would have to remain quiet at a certain point while the information ministry takes charge of their information dissemination?
No, not necessarily. I mean, they are employed to do a piece of job, but the ministry was established through some legal instrument. I mean, whether it was a passed law, military decree, as I said during the confirmation hearing, it's a guiding principle, right? And that instrument says all public relation officers deployed in different government offices should be recruited and deployed by the Ministry of Information. That hasn't happened. What I'm saying is that we need to take seize of that, right? If you do so, as it is reflected in the law, then you have control over the individuals.
Right.
And you can control their activities. And you'll be able to easily, at first hand, get whatever they're doing. Because take, for example, whatever has been achieved by the Ministry of Commerce is a whole of government achievement, right?
Right.
It should not be left with a guy at the Ministry of Commerce struggling to see how to communicate that. The government communication thing here by the Ministry of Information is the biggest platform, right? So if we articulate what is happening at the Ministry of Commerce, what is happening at the Ministry of Defense, what is happening at the legislature, for example, that has not been part of the business in the past. But don't we have 3 branches of government? Isn't the legislature a part of the government? Why isn't it proper to say to the public what they are doing? Because their achievements are also achievement of the government. If you move to the judiciary and see what they are doing, they're wonderful things. It's also government achievement. So the approach can be a focus on just what we're doing in the executive, because you want to communicate what the government is doing. And the executive alone, yes, we are part of the executive. As the Minister of Information, you are part of the executive. But accounting for what happens in the executive is not the same as accounting what is happening across the government. So to account for what is happening across the government, you need to capture progress being made in the judiciary. You need to capture progress being made in the legislature. Because once you put them out, then you have a whole of government of this system. That's what we want to do. And we're very committed to that with Martin and I.
You are the chairman of the board of the very institution that we are having this interview on. What kind of state broadcast do you envisage?
If you follow the confirmation hearing, one of the issues we've had with ELBC in the past, it's not just with the administration. The state broadcaster most times is drawn into the regular politics of the day. That should not be the case. It's a state broadcasting institution. It should serve the public. It should serve the citizenry. Where do they come from? They got different political interests, right? The people who run political parties are also Liberians. They have right to state radio. But sometimes it just, yes, you promulgate government programs and policy as well at LBC, but you can be drawn into the politics to the extent that you don't want opposition people to come on the station. You don't want people who are critical of the government to come on the station. You should create space for everybody, right? But have the safeguards. So, say for example, you call Party X leader to come on the show, and he leaves the core issue, right? And maybe gets involved in insult, trying to insult people. Then that's a different ballgame. The leadership team, the management, those who run the program should be able to find a way to mitigate that. But keeping people away on account of being afraid that they will say something against the government is a problem. And for me, as chairman of the board, and I'm sure incoming Director General Fagon will be on board with this because we've talked about it. We just want to make the state institutions look like one. They should be void of politics. We cannot transform state institutions into political machineries. When you do so, then you're away from your core responsibility. That's the approach that we want to take.
The rest of the other political subdivisions, do you look for where ELBC will have its presence in all of those places?
ELBC structure has always been in a way that gives them presence in the political subdivision. The challenge has been, I think they have substations. And once those substations are not on, then programming in those parts of the country cannot be heard. So that's why we're concerned about how well they can be supported. You don't want to make the state broadcaster a Monrovia-based thing. All the people in the interior and other places, they have rights to the information we give. But they can only do that if you have the proper support, fuel supply, for example, to keep the substations on. And I think the Boaka administration, based on conversations that I've had with them, committed to doing just that. It's not easy. You go to my own ministry. Tomorrow, they've said they haven't turned it over. Some of you got to come there, walk through that building, and see if that's a place that's even have a table for human beings. Someone had just gone there to do an assessment, and I have some pictures that I will share with you. If you see them, you ask yourself whether human beings are walking into those places every morning to work. Terrible, terrible situation. We have to change that. When I was leaving to come and take this job, I was aware that I was going into a sector that has been abandoned for years. That place is a symbol of neglect. I knew that. But what do we look for? Luxurious places? Or like someone would say, attractive agencies? I like to lead change. And one of the ways to lead change is to see that structure, that place that appears like it's non-existent, and do some transformative things that people will look and see, isn't this the Ministry of Information we knew yesterday? How come?
Well, Minister, just to do a follow-up quickly to what,
I think you got to work on.
Quickly.
Yeah, let me do that.
Wanted him to adjust. Wanted him to adjust.
Yeah, let's welcome Clarence.
I can do that for Vavle now. So
Yeah.
Vavle-
Yeah, sure.
Vavle should do that.
Right.
Yes, let's welcome Clarence Jackson of OKFM. Also, to inform you that Premium FM in Bangabon County is relaying this special interview. So, Clarence, good morning. Welcome. This seems to be home now. So.
Yeah. So, Clarence.
Well, thank you, Vavli. Thank you. It's good to be here. It's a pleasure. And it's good to have the Minister of Information. I think this is his first public appearance.
Yeah.
And so history will be count to all of us here. Yeah, first public radio appearance. And it's good to see you back home. It's been a long time. I know we've had some conversations while you were there based on country interests and all these kinds of things. But it's good to have you back. And we look forward to more interactions with you.
Yeah.
It's very good to see you too, Clarence. We've been there for a long time. And public interaction, yes, you're right. That's not something I shy away from. I'll do more of that. And we'll do it without fear. I could have come here, sit down with Vafle, talk state radio and bull chairman team. If you take your own time, you want to ask questions, say you dodging it.
Scary.
Bring other people. Matthias, I haven't served with Matthias before.
Right.
I do not want to see him being timid. Ask the questions. Let's talk about the issues.
Right.
You're my friend, but you've been a bold guy. I watched you and my dear brother and friends and they done several times. They will shake each other and say, get out your way. You shake a little spot you walk out.
Don't mind.
After a few days or weeks, you will come by.
Yeah.
You know, we want to have that. We don't want to remote control or stage manage our communication. If they have questions out there, ask them. We will have answers. We'll give you the answer. If we don't have answers, we'll tell you, look, right now we don't have answer for this. We'll do some follow-ups. We'll come back to you. Take a talk. Don't be personal. Don't be, indisciplined, but ask the hard question. That's what the people want. They want to have their government being here accountable. You, the fourth estate, do that on their behalf. And I'm saying this to say in this space right now as we are, have no limit in asking the hard questions.
Sounds good.
Matthias,
Right.
it seems this interview has been widely read because Spoon FM in Habio is also relaying, just to give them the credit. Go ahead, Matthias.
That's a good one. And, Minister,
Good start for the minister.
very, very, very much. And in fact,
Don't mind him. He like it. He like it. We're asking her questions. So all that he's doing there, just looking at him.
since there is something in the ground now.
But don't mind the man. He's trying to build friendship.
But
We're
Clarence-
friends, but until we leave here 10 o'clock, let him leave it out.
Absolutely. Yeah. But honestly, man, I really appreciate the minister's approach. Your position on communication. The communication is very important to every society. And those of us in this space, we really feel bad when we try reaching out a lot of times to certain people in offices of public trust. We find it difficult to get them, and it just prevents us from doing our job. I just want to do a follow-up to what the questioner Kevin asked about state radio, the kind of state radio you envisage. Yeah. I heard you talking about opening it up to everyone in the public, which is why it was established and how it should be used. But I'm looking at the toxic political environment we have, where people will be invited to a particular platform to discuss a particular thing. They will deliberately deviate from the subject matter. How would this approach be like? Is it going to be like you're going to tell Vavle, if Matthias coming from the Liberty Party or whatever party, give him basic areas of focus and the policy of state radio, what he should say, what he should not say. And in follow-up to my previous question also concerning synchronizing government information to the public, that is the single source approach you talk about, the public relation officers of various institutions of government or corporations, what kind of information would they be allowed to respond to journalists? Which one would they keep for the Ministry of Information to tailor it to the public?
So overall, the day-to-day activities at every ministry or agency should be known. You don't have to wait for the Ministry of Information to say that, right?
Right.
Because we're not out every day, every second, every minute, every hour, just talking. So it doesn't stop them from talking about what is being done at their ministry or agencies, right? But when you work, you have deliverables. If I don't know what the deliverables are at the Ministry of Commerce, can I talk about it? And it's not just with that communication officer. He has his bosses, right? My colleague at the cabinet level will be able to come to me and say, look, this is something that we've done that benefits the entire country. The platform available to the public relations officer is not as big as the platform available to the Minister of Information. So not that he's not authorized to say that, but he knows that communication-wise, he or she, so it doesn't look like we only want men to be in this job, they will be aware that they are somehow answerable to a bigger communication network.
Okay.
that we elevate whatever they're doing at a level higher than he could do. But it does not mean we come in to say, oh, you public relations officer, you can't speak. But you are accountable to the Ministry of Information. When I call you and ask for something, you're prepared to give it. Right? When I say, look, work with your minister and ensure that we have this, you're going to do that. In the current situation, these people don't work for us. So you don't have that kind of leverage over them. It is all that we're trying to do. I was telling someone, raising this issue does not mean you want all the public relations officers that are there out of their positions so that you start a new process to recruit people and place them there. No. But it could be just against the background that they now know that they are supposed to be working closely with the Ministry of Information.
Right.
And that they'll begin to take that approach of working closely with us so that we help to elevate because their achievements are achievements of the government. So transport does not have an achievement on its own that is not reflective of the achievements of the government. And if that is the case, no better place to also lift it than that which is the national communication platform.
How would you
our national communication platform is that kind of triangular structure that has the Ministry of Information at the top, and at the two bottom part, the Executive Mansion Press Office and the Liberia Broadcasting System.
Yes, talking about the Liberia Broadcasting System, how would you, ensure that people do not come here to do the usual thing?
It's not going to be the most appropriate thing to do for VAFLE to invite somebody from the opposition and say to them, this is why you were saying.
Yeah.
You're not going to go beyond that. You can't do that. The guy comes from the opposition. Something is wrong with government. He wants to criticize. That's not what we're talking about. He can sit on the platform and say, look, I come from, say, the CDC. The government has done X, Y, and Z. We think it's wrong. He can sit right here and criticize. What we're talking about, don't come sit here, leave the core issues, and begin to insult.
Okay.
You can come sit.
Sorry, thank you. Just one
You
quick
can come sit
as a follow-up.
on a national platform and you will insult government officials, you will insult the president, you will insult people at the legislature, whether at the House of Representatives. This platform cannot be used as a ground for insults, inciting people, leading people into violence. But you can use this platform maybe as an opposition person to criticize.
Could there be any reason to close or shut down media institutions?
The country is basically governed by laws. I believe a media institution can only face that kind of situation if you breach the law, and that's what the penalty action required by law calls for. Because I always tell people, strict adherence to the rule of law is a sure way of maintaining peace and stability.
Absolutely.
So, but as long as you are not in breach of the law, I don't see a reason why a media institution should be closed down. You cannot close a media institution down because Clarence cares somebody on OKF and the person insulted a government official, or the person insulted even the president. In as much as that is unacceptable, it cannot be grounds for shutting down the radio station, right? But if the law says you got to do annual registration, if you don't register, why should you operate? That's what the law says. Do your registration and operate. You say, no, I'm the media guru. We are big people. You can. If you do that and they say, well, you cannot operate because you've not met the legal requirements, then it's not that someone is shutting you down. It's like any other institution. How do you run school? How do you establish a school? There are requirements, there are procedures. You follow, you run your school. But you just get up one morning, nobody follow anything. You just see one big school sitting there in one corner. They say the school operating. You go, you want to see the documentation that authorizes them to establish a school none. When you close it down, nobody will tell you, say, oh, the poor hit school. It's the same thing with the press.
Okay.
In as much as we want to keep opening the environment with you, we want you to be law-abiding people. Because you are the fourth estate. People say you are the watchdog of society. If you don't respect laws, how can you encourage others to respect the laws? So those could be the only condition. But I am hoping also that during my stewardship, no media institution is closed down. How do we do it? I'm also hoping that then you will follow the law. Because when you follow the law, no breach of the law, there should be no reason why you should be closed.
Okay, Minister, thank you. I know all of these interactions were meant to get you, to wake you up so that we begin to discuss the real issues, some of the real issues for which we're here. I'd like to say, firstly, publicly, thank you. I further the press conference at the Executive Mansion with you, the Inspector General of Police and Presidential Press Secretary Kula Fofana. I thought that was proactivity on the part of the government, because the fact that the situation had just taken place in Kitmount and the government, through the information people, were able to address a press conference, I thought that was good. And some of us have said we'd never shy away from saying the truth. If the government does wrong, we say it. If it is in the right, we say it. Now, but what is the situation now in Grand Kitmount in the context of what do you know as a government? As we speak, there is still a lot of information about, for example, how many persons died, how many persons were arrested. What is the situation there now? As a Minister of Information, what do you know? And I'm asking in the context of your previous statement that you will have nothing to hide. What is it like?
Correct. So let's start with generally the situation in Kinjur is calm. When we had a press conference at the Executive Mansion, the one you're referencing, we did announce that there was one death and some injuries. As of today, just before getting up here, I spoke to the police IG. The death has actually increased to 2. Besides the one that we announced, he said on Saturday, a second person died, right?
Okay.
There was a 3rd death, according to him, but not associated with the clashes between the protester and police. That 3rd death, according to what he told me, was in Tenure, within the town, with another person stabbing another person to death. So, as a result of the act of lawlessness in that part of the place, you could say 3 persons died, but 2 persons as a direct result of the confrontation between the protesters and the police. The 3rd person is not a victim of that situation, but an internal wrangling that led to somebody stabbing another. So in terms of casualty, that's where we are. Of course, when we spoke on that day, we said there was one death, right? And we did say at that press conference that should the figure change, we'll be transparent, we'll be honest. And the reason why we should do this, you want to be credible in the eyes of the population. If you are not credible, if they see you as a lying entity, they see the Minister of Information to be carrying a lying tongue, when you talk, people look for other means to confirm what you say because they don't trust you anymore. So we're going to remain engaged in this way. And that is why, as the spokesman, I'm not everywhere. I was not in Kinjur. I may not have known how things unfolded. But when I picked the phone and called Gregory Kuma, he's willing to talk to me. When I call the Minister of Justice, he's willing to talk to me. Whatever sector is involved with anything, when I take the phone and call them, they're ready to talk to me. And whatever account that I will give is directly based on information from those who are directly involved with the situation. In this case, the Liberian National Police. Whatever I say to you is based on updates from the Liberian National Police. And the latest update I got from the police was just 20 minutes before entering the studio. So that should be correct.
Okay. So did the police inspector general say to you that these people died as a result of live bullet that were fired by the police?
No. So there's an ongoing investigation that is also centered around the question of their regulation regarding the use of force. And that kind of investigation also includes the fact that they will be able to establish that cause of death. And when that information is also available as your Minister of Information, I will come back to you and say it. Yeah.
Minister, a lot of people want to know the root causes of these concession, the violent activities. For Kinjur specifically, has the government, through its investigation, uncovered the root causes of what happened?
So we have available a number of counts from the people of Kinjur. I was reading through it. Matthew has my phone there. It's there. I think it's about some 33 or 30, some the smaller one. Yeah, that one. Different issues. But they are now as a result of where we are now with the new administration. The problem has been there. You know, they talk about housing. Somebody said one of the places where the town was seated, the ground itself is determined that the ground itself contains gold, right? And you want to relocate them because that's the only way you do your money there. They believe the quality of the horses that were built to take them from there to the other place was like you're bidding something for peace. That's what they say, right? There's also a question of wanting certain persons removed from a whole list, a litany of it.
Bad labor practice.
Let me see what I can get there so we can just give you some specific. And I'm doing so because I want you to know that we are somehow aware of what their own issues are. So things didn't fly from heaven. But one of the things I said, which I will still not draw back in saying, is when these concerns are raised, sometimes we all just have to be patient and see what the government does. This government has been in office barely a month plus, right? It is not practical that they would have been able to solve all the problems that they have listed long before the government came to power. And in that process of trying to pay attention to some of these things and see how we all work together, the community people, the company, the government, to solve these problems, when we reach to the other level we reach, where lives have to be involved, then it's a problem. So we all just have to work to do it a little bit different. But yes, they have issues. And reading through it as the Minister of Information, I believe some of the issues are real strong isures.
Are there short-term solutions, long-term solutions?
So it depends on the issue. But let me see what I can. Let's do something. Let me see what I can find. It was forwarded to me from one of our authorities in government, and I had it here. But let's keep the conversation going.
So a follow-up to Clarence's question. Clarence asked about the casualties. I'm quite sure that was on the side of the protesters. Okay,
go ahead.
Clarence asked a question on the side of the protesters or the citizens in King George and Cape Mount County. In relations to casualty. Have we any casualty on the side of the government, specifically the law enforcement officer? Any update?
So what we said on that day at the Executive Mansion press conference hasn't changed based on update I got from Greg. But at the Executive Mansion, he did say 2 of the officers received bullet wounds, one in the head, another one on the legs, but a total of 9 police officers were injured.
You know, Honorable Minister, the concern raised by Vavle is very common. I've followed King George situation during the Salus administration. I visited there and I met about 2 protest actions. During that time, there were no casualty at the time. The lawmakers sometimes raise concerns that the concession, companies in this country are not, doing the right thing. They are not living up to the laws that govern them. When all these concerns are raised, even the people who should be policing these people, if lack of better word, so policing the concession companies in the country, they sit and watch these people violate the people. I just want to know how the Boakar's administration approached the issue of concessions in the country violating the rights of ordinary citizens so as to avoid protest action that would lead to the loss of lives like we witnessed recently.
So if you're a government, you are the people's government, right?
Right.
When there are issues, you cannot fold your hands. We've heard all of the different things about how concessionaires behave, things that are happening in the concession areas that are not correct. You talk about bad labor practice, we hear about any other places. Under the Boakar administration, the appropriate sectors, for example, the MBC, how many of you know what the MBC is supposed to be doing? It's a government compliance entity, as far as concessionaires are concerned. Were they really paying attention, making sure that people are in compliance in the past? I don't know.
You're talking about the National Bureau of Concession?
Yeah. Will that change under the Baka administration? Obviously, it has to change. Concessionaires, they have to be held accountable. The things that they are supposed to do, we must ensure that they do it. So, generally, yes, it will change. It must change because we don't have options, right? It can be rhetoric as usual. You election time, you say good things to the people, you get a power, the good thing can happen. No, the Baka administration will break away from that. Perhaps we may even reach a time where there will be a review of the stuff all of these concessionaires are doing. Sometimes it's very necessary. Before those kinds of review, you just inherit something you know little about and you just walk into it. So we could even reach those levels because we expect concessionaires to keep their side of the bargain. As the government creates the space for you to do your work, the things you're supposed to do, you got to do it. But most importantly, we will not countenance or tolerate an abuse of the people by concessionaires. So the federal fund is just for the purpose of just passing through. Briefly, we don't have to name all, but just to have some specifics. So they wanted certain positions to be reserved for Liberians in accordance with the labor regulations. They've been demanding that. They want membership into the World Gold Council. Corporate social responsibility is another problem. They believe the things the company is supposed to be doing as a part of the corporate social responsibility, they're not doing this. They want what they call seasonal employment to be changed to permanent employment. That is, a lot of people are employed just for short term, all these kinds of stuff, and then after that they don't have job. They want that to change. They want the provision of life insurance benefit for the mine workers. They want supply of safety gear. That gets to me. Anyone working in the mine should have safety gear. If this demand means that people are in the mine without safety gear, then we must pay attention. So what I was saying, and as the listing, what are they here? Let me see what the total number is, and I can share with each of you after the show. It's about 31 different demands. Some may require long-term approach, some short-term, but these are their demands.
I think like safety gears, that's a short-term thing. It's very, very easy to provide. I don't know why the company wouldn't want to do
And
that.
like I said, it should be available. I don't know whether they say so against the background that they are not having it. Then I will wonder how they're working in the mines if they don't have safety gear. But then you find out that these are genuine concerns, and the government is not playing blind eyes, right? But while we're trying to receive these kinds of information, work towards it, then we have the unfortunate situation that took place, and then life is involved. Life is pressure. Yes, we know that when we're born, we gotta die. But it doesn't mean, I'm not sure any of you here prepared to just walk into death because you're born, you're supposed to die. So when life leaves someone, it's serious. And that just on account of these kinds of differences in workplace, somebody will have to die. We have to avoid it.
Minister, we have a lot of talking points here to exhaust, but just lastly on that King George
So we are
situation.
talking point finish. I'm still radio here and at the boat here. Yeah, we're just the time.
One of the concerns, very major, is that B Mountain had 5 years left on their contract, on their operation.
Right.
But the last government extended 25 years. They amended their operations to 25 years, gave them 25 years. That, with these demands not met, angered the citizens. Is this government prepared to go back, review, and reverse what the previous government did?
So I will just speak generally and not specific to B Mountain. I did say in some of our approach, sometimes we may reach to the point where we have to review some of the concession agreements. Is that to say, I'm saying emphatically that B Mountain concession will be reviewed, having just passed, like you said, towards the end of the term of the last administration. I'm not saying that. Is it possible that if we reach a point of reviewing concession, they could be one of them? That's also possible. But I don't have that direct information to say, oh, yes, what they did will be reviewed by the administration. But I did say we will get to the point where we have to even review past concession agreements. Yeah, that's possible.
Okay, Minister. So we'll move on, and I'm sure last evening, someone and myself were having a conversation, and I was telling the person I could not be definite about the situation of the tenure position and as to how far it is in the court. This is something that has taken public discussion. You go to intellectual centers at street corners and marketplaces, people are talking about it. Recently, the president started nominating individuals to tenure positions. In some of these places, some of the individuals serving already do still have, some years remaining. Is the government, did the president consider the legal implication and ramification and what it could cost the country?
Obviously, every presidential action is thoroughly considered. Tenure, and let me put it this way. The folks at the Election Commission are tenure people. The General Auditing Commission tenure, Central Bank tenure. It's not just that it's backed by law, but there are rationales for this. The Central Bank governor and his team control our money. When the LRA raised the money, Clarence, if you're president, depending on your power, you will just call Jerolinmek Piah as Central Bank governor and say, you need to give me 500,000. Not following any procedure. Jerolinmek Piah could tell you no, Mr. President, that's not how it works. You could get vexed and fire Jerolinmek Piah, right? So they wanted to have safeguards for these people to be protected from those kinds of influences. The people at the LRA, they could raise money. Their money should be channeled through the process. The other day, just before the administration could end, they were talking about leakages in the tune of 300 million. And I think you know what that means, all of you who are journalists. It means that whatever you're generating as revenue, 300 million of it not being accounted for through the process. Where's it going? You don't know. You don't want a revenue boss who will insist that every dam that is raised is passed through the proper channel, and then he gets fired. So and because of that, they are restricted from doing certain things. You can be a political person and be protected by tenure. So it goes across from the code of conduct and all of that. Look, if you're in a tenure position, there are do's and don'ts. If you did some of the things that you're not supposed to do, it's punishable. And somebody could say, yeah, we agree it's punishable, but the law also says you should have the office of ombudsman. If the ombudsman not there, then you can take action, even if it is clear that someone is in violation. I don't know how that is practical. Let's go to one day interior town where people could commit crime, and police supposed to be the one to make intervention, right? No policeman there in the meantime. So even if a guy call out a jet person and when they start killing police, oh no, you're not supposed to touch him, don't do nothing to him because the law says police will be here first, no police here. So what an ombudsman is available now when there are violations that are clear, you can act. But the good thing is it's a country of law. If anybody feels offended by the presidential action on tenure, you have a recourse.
But Mr. Minister, the code of conduct also talks about how, for example, these people can be taken off. Like you say, I mean, in your words, when you are a political person, you're not supposed to hold tenure position without the setting up of the office of the ombudsman. 5.9, as contained in the code of conduct, talks about due process. And due process is supposed to be a process that hears before it condemns. So the framers of that law knew fully well that probably there may not have been an ombudsman, but where is this due process when the president has already nominated people in these positions?
So those who we believe breach the code of conduct by their political disposition, the evidences are clear. Due process is not just that you get only sit down in a court hall and say, answer me. Clarence has to be involved in politics. I got 100 picture of Clarence in t-shirts, standing over car, holding vuvuzela and jumping all over the place.
Then you state a cause, but in this case, you didn't state a cause, like the case with the NLA, the National Lottery Authority. I know in a radio telephone conversation, he mentioned that he was never informed.
So when the law says people who are in tenure position can be removed for a cause, and if they still have period on their tenure and they are removed, then that's a cause.
So were they notified?
So,
okay, sir.
I'm coming.
Right.
Then that's a cause. And maybe the Clarence said, because you won't sit down for everybody, so people feel no. So you are removing me wrongly, right? So that you run to the court. Are you aware that some of the people who ran to the court withdrew their petition from the court? And some of them who did so are lawyers. You know why they did so? They've reviewed, they've looked at the ramifications. Some of them may be convinced that they don't even have a case, right? Because the president will not act in a way that does not align with evidence that will show that this action I'm taking is correct. And we just got to be honest with ourselves. I don't know how some of these things happen. I'll give you an example as to why it's important to have a central bank governor who has tenure. As to why it's important to have somebody at the LRA who has tenure. As to why it's important for somebody at the GSC to have tenure. I could be the president, my office is being audited. This auditor general is uncompromising, right? I feel threatened. If he doesn't have a tenure, fire him. You want to protect that man, right? But you tell me, man. So what thing LTA is supposed to be doing that you scare for president to remove them, or Fisher, for example, that you scare for president to remove them, that they got to have tenure. But if the law gives them tenure, fine. But then there are also other requirements. Don't do this. Don't be political. Don't do that one. And like you have total disregard of the place. These people who knew that it's not supposed to be political, you saw that all over the place. There's pure enough sufficient documentation on how these people blanketly, carelessly say we'll be political, even if the law says we should not be political.
But Mr. Minister, there are prescribed punishment under our laws that talks about how people could be punished. Are you saying the government itself should willfully, intentionally violate the rights of people because there are courts? And so when you violate people's rights, you say they should go to court. I come back again.
So where's that violation?
Where's the due process? I mean, that Minister Jerolinmek Piah says these people were in campaign teachers. Is that sufficient to nominate people in the positions? Would it not have been a good thing had the president set up, for example, a small committee to investigate these people and the government avail the evidence to convict them?
A lot of things happen in this country. And so we want to put our eyes. You've been around for a good while. Has there been any period in this country where you see a state security officer in the EPS openly parading guns, carrying guns, openly wearing party t-shirt? You think it's normal? And you have public officials who are claiming onto tenure that should be non-political, and they fearlessly, arrogantly wear party paraphernalia. And you know why they were brave to do those things? Because between you and I will not be having this conversation if they won the elections. Because nobody will care about their violation. It's about time that we take some action that would make Jerolinmek Piah. I'm a very strong political person. During the period Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, my desire to see Joseph Boakai elected was strong. I always let it be a political party. I could not even shake. You were here, you saw it. I couldn't even participate in the discourse. Something restricted me from doing that. Until we begin to keep that, and that we can't just have a country that is lawless, then we have to do something. But important, like I said, yeah, it's possible that somebody could feel, okay, what they did to me is wrong. At least we have a recourse, Clarence. And that recourse is the law. I remember years back with my brother, Isaac Jackson, who you know, your own pastor brother. He was in London enjoying yourself. They say, my man, you got to move from there. If I say I get 10, you say no. And I say, okay, I will take recourse in the law. That case ended.
So probably you just repeating what others did. They took Isaac Jackson from his tenure position. He had to go to court. So Joe Boakai comes, becomes president, take other people from tenure position. They got to go to court. Disregard the particular code of conduct and all of the laws that talk about due process. I mean, so we just repeating. Are we in a cycle?
I don't know whether I can point to anything that was said as a reason for which Isaac Jackson, for example, saying we're using an example. But yeah, I have told you that people openly, defiantly, against what the law says, jumped in their paraphernalia and were campaign agents. Right? So the president has acted. And those who are offended by the president's action can find recourse in the law. That's what the country should do.
Now, Minister, the legal advisor in that press conference with the press secretary said that the government is considering removing tenure positions. Now, the fear or the concern of integrity institutions like Centar is that there are positions, institutions that have constitutional tenured upstreams, like the GSC, the NEC, all these institutions. The government removing tenure positions, would that affect these constitutionally built tenured institutions?
When you're quoting the legal advisor to the president, you should know that will not happen, right? I think what a legal advisor was saying.
People are concerned.
No, you should not be concerned because tenure associated with NEC, for example, is reflected in our constitution. It's not in the statutory law. The legal advisor is not suggesting to you that you would take tenure from NEC, you would take tenure from GSC, you would take tenure from LACC, you would take tenure from LRA. No, that's not what he's saying. The point he was making is that apart from the ones listed in the Constitution, I think the Constitution listed 3, right?
Yeah,
the GSC, the Election Commission, and
the Central. No, the Civil Service Commission.
Yes,
Civil Service Commission.
Yes.
Article 89.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the Central Bank, right? Nobody could touch. They are provided, but beyond them, based on the integrated nature of certain institutions, they were given tenure, and that can be justified. Like the LRA, for example. Well, but there were, and the legislature, to be fair to them, towards the end of the last administration, they tried to do something about it. Daniel worked in that place, and you know that I think it passed the House.
It passed both houses.
Okay.
It went to the president, but he didn't sign it because he has some issues with the amendments that they both.
No. The House passed it, and then it went to the Senate. The Senate passed on different version. So the conference
committee, yeah.
really
Okay. So I heard that.
synchronize it. Yeah.
So it's an unfinished business, and I can tell you that the Bwaka administration will make it a finished business.
And that was meeting.
Yeah, they just have to make sure they look at the different thing. The conference committee that they now meet can now meet under the 55th, right?
Yeah, 55th.
Eventually, but it was good because I visited the speaker the other day, and he and I were just having conversation. And he was like, one of the reasons that got us here is that this matter was almost being resolved during the 54th, and XYZ took place that made us to be dragging onto it. So you will still need that approach.
But what's the rationale? What's the rationale behind removing these tenure positions without, not touching the GSC, CSC?
Because you can't easily justify why those institutions have tenure. You justify to me why NAFA, for example, have tenure. You can tell me. Why should they have tenure? At least somebody can say why next you have tenure.
Why should they not have tenure?
Right. Because like I just explained, Clarence, do you want the president to just wake up one morning and say that Clarence Jassy on that election commission preventing us CDC, but we don't need that. Firing.
So why should NAFA have tenure?
If you don't have, you just have to take it easy. if you don't have tenure for that person, they get out of their job, right? Because they're doing the right thing. What is the thing that NAFA is supposed to be doing compared to the central bank, for example, compared to LRA that requires? I'm just giving NAFA an example, and I don't want to drag too much. So because the government really going after NAFA because the information minister was just mentioning NAFA, but it can be other institutions, FTA, who pass up there and friend, Israel, standing way on top of the car with. Design yourself with all the party thing and get a blue diamond.
He should have had due process.
We think the evidences are preponderous.
Okay, Minister, let's move on to the.
So what is the government's reliance to victory in the court against these people? What is it that the government is depending on?
When we get to the code, you know what the government depends on. Without discussing our evidence on readable, with us to start plotting again.
Well, but Minister, just a follow up, right? I mean, Kevin and Clarence and Vavrid have done enough with this tenure position thing. My follow up is some of the pundits think that because the Constitution gives the president right to appoint and the people work at his will and pleasure, it would be difficult for a president to come and meet certain people who were appointed by the former president to let them just stay in their position untouched. So whether these people violate or not, this is the government. It's difficult for you to defeat government in court. What would you say to people who come up from that, background of,
I think government can be defeated in court.
And the central bank governor was appointed by President. So let's not create a picture as though the government is just bent on taking people who are appointed from by President. We are out of offices. The central bank, Hillary Pearson, who doubts her past CDC connection. But any of you got to convince, maybe I didn't see that. I didn't see anybody anywhere in any party teacher jumping around drinking capital. You saw some climbing, maybe you can help me.
No, I'm not sure. So
If anybody going after her, is there any dispute about her connection with CDC? Is she being chased out of her job? Is somebody chasing her out of the job? So we cannot create a picture that the government wants to go after people in positions of tenure because they are sedition. So for those who've been removed, they've been removed from it. And we got to be honest about that. If we wanted to blanketly run after sedition, then we just even tell a lot of time to say, your umpa, we see you not, you don't do nothing. But the law says you will remove you, and then we're going to pay the damage for your remaining term. You know what the law says also? Are we doing that?
Sanctity of contract.
We're not doing that. Folks, Clarence, Piah, we're not doing that. There is no desire to wish one here. The desire here is to make sure that if Piah is in a position that got some restraints, he should respect the restraints. It can be business as usual. All right, that will happen.
Okay. Mr. Minister, thank you. We woke up one morning and the wives of soldiers of the armed forces of Liberia started a protest that paralyzed commercial and other activities as far as the traffic is concerned. They were consistent about that. They didn't want former Defense Minister Prince Johnson. He had to resign. The president said he was setting up a committee, and in 2 weeks, that committee would have reported. Did the president set up the committee? Where are we now with the AFL wives investigation?
Good question. And a lot of journalists have been calling me on this matter because it's understandable. Because when a committee is announced, and the time frame is given to say they got this period of time to do a piece of work, and the period elapses, of course, people will be concerned. But here's what I was told. There's a bigger dimension to what happened in our country here on that day. We may have seen it as a Liberian issue, but we realized it had regional and wider international implications that requires a lot from our partners as well. So it's an ongoing process. Because of those dimensions that I mentioned, what is required to be done to reach a conclusion they want is far deeper than what we thought it was, for which a 2-week period was announced. In fact, the fact that the membership of the committee, you know what the membership is?
You tell us. I mean,
so I'm asking that to say
the membership of what committee? The investigative committee.
Yeah.
I know, of course, former Public Works Minister Kofi Wood is on that committee.
Was he announced?
No.
So the point I'm making, this thing has to do with our armed forces. It's the mental bit of the security infrastructure. The way the government thought to approach it was just exactly what they did. People said Clarence Johnson is the chair of that committee. these people will not have the chance to even dive deeper into the critical issue that, like Clarence said, that brought the country to its knees. There could be attempts to influence. It is handled in this way so that the individuals who are doing this job have all their focus on the job, trying to reach out to them from every dimension. So they're really working, right? But like I said, because it's deeper, it will require a little more time than the 2 weeks that were announced to be able to say something to the public.
So
I mean, I don't get it,
Right,
Matthias.
right.
Minister, the president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Liberia. You know, first in the room, the privilege and opportunity to every information. The president have got a national security advisor that will advise him on these things. He comes to the public, make a pronouncement of 2 weeks. You were telling us it should take a little bit of time. Are you not concerned that the wives of these people will sit and come to the conclusion that nobody cares about them because the time has elapsed and they might likely come back in the streets?
So I thought we're missing two things out here. The wives of the soldiers came in the street because they said they did not want the Minister of National Defense.
That was just one of the
That
many
was just one of
things.
the many
Reason.
They said a lot of other things.
Well, but they came in the street exclusively. They didn't want the Minister of National Defense. Yes, they have issues. Those issues were not what brought them in the street. The fundamental thing that put them in the street was they did not want the Minister of National Defense. What the investigation is looking into is deeper than just that concept of not wanting the Minister of National Defense. It's put on, like I said, national, regional, and international security.
Will we have any investigative report anytime soon? I'm asking because
So I did say the 2 weeks that was announced, we realized that what is required to be achieved will not be achieved within the 2 weeks. It will take additional time. When the additional time is considered, Clarence, and a conclusion is reached, for the purpose of transparency, the public will be made aware.
Honorable Minister, I mean, keeping the names of members of the committee from the public, that may seem justifiable because given the security nature of what we are looking at, but adjusting the time for the report to be made, the investigative report to be made to the public, that is something I just want to find out whether this has been communicated to the wives of the AFL that protested, that they are aware that given the circumstances surrounding this investigation, it will be difficult for us to come up in 2 weeks' time. So therefore, we are asking you to give us additional time. How about the public that is concerned? When would they have been able to be informed on this particular issue had you not appeared here today?
What you want, so okay, that last one you say required I will say something. As the Minister of Information, I received the letter appointing me as Minister of Information on Friday. I'm a very serious law-abiding person. Even though I was designated as Minister of Information, when I came to this country, I've been here. Thanks to my brother Kevin, picked me up from the airport. I've been going to Minister of Information. I was not having any interview with anybody because in what capacity? Minister designated, you're not spokesman for the government. I'm here with you today because as of Friday, I got my letter. Right? Yes, you're right. Maybe the government could have said something. If they didn't say it, the person who's supposed to be saying things on their behalf is not in office. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm saying it now. That's why you can even take your phone now. You don't have to wait for talk show and call me anytime and say, Mr. Piah, I want to find out this thing. So take what I've said to be the update that should come on that issue. And I want to also appeal to you that information is also security, right? So because I'm the Minister of Information of the government, there are a lot more I know that you can just throw out to the public like that, right?
Right.
So this is a security issue. Let's leave it at the point that the investigation could not conclude in 2 weeks because of the wider dimension involved. But the work is ongoing. That commitment is there to complete the work. When it's completed, what the public needs to know, they will know through the Minister of Information.
Okay, With that said, Clarence, I want us skip
No
to the
worries.
next.
Okay.
To the next. It is about this power theft situation that led to the death of in person, I think somewhere in Cardwell. What's the latest update regarding that?
So yesterday, the president, His Excellency President Bouaka, dispatched a team to go to Kawa and see the family. I was a member of that team. The team included me, the Minister of Justice, and the Police Inspector General. We went to Caldwell, we met with the family, we expressed condolence for the death of the individual.
Adolphus.
Yeah, and the Police Inspector General assured them that the matter is being investigated. In fact, there are suspects that are in police custody who are being investigated. We pleaded with the people in Caldwell to be calm, to hold their peace, and to be assured that there will be justice. But at the same time, assure them that the government will work with them in giving a befitting burial to the young man who unfortunately lost his life. There are a lot of other actions that have been considered. Power theft has a complete task force. The Justice Minister did say at that place that we'll begin to review the work of that power theft task force. We don't know the detail. We don't want to draw conclusions. But in our desire to stop power theft, for example, nobody should lose their life, Clarence. If somebody steals current and they've committed a crime by stealing current, what do? We got to have other options to hold them accountable. So we don't know the detail, and it's been investigated. Like the police RG said, in the end of if somebody was liable for killing somebody, of course the law would take its course. That would not bring the person back to life, but the person is gone. A review of the activities of the different groupings will help us to avoid some of these things in the future. That much is known about the tax force because it's a tax force that have been in existence before this government came to power. But that review I'm talking about will give us an insight as to their work and how their operational procedures have been. Because we have been receiving different information from different people that there's always been the beating of people. Is that true? The investigation will unveil that. Then we got to find a way to solve it. We don't send people out to go in the name of the state, to do something to the very citizens that these services are meant for. So what took place there is unfortunate, but the update is, like I said, a high-level government team. I call it high-level team that was led by the Minister of Justice. And I was a part of that team. The police RG yesterday. We had a very nice meeting with them. We got updates from the RG that suspects were arrested, they've been investigated, and the family was assured that those investigations will lead us to the point where if there were people who are culpable for his death, the law will take its course.
The well-being, the welfare, because I listened into our news this morning and I heard Representative Abu Bana Kamara mentioned that he was the breadwinner of the family.
The guy in question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
We met his
are there
wife.
other issues
We met his
the
wife.
government is doing?
Engagement is ongoing, right? I'm sure deep down in those engagement, all those different issues will be taken into consideration.
Okay. During the campaign, President Joseph Boakai, then candidate of the Unity Party, made a lot of commitments to Liberians. One of which is to ensure, if not all, most of our roles are pliable in the first 100 days of his administration. The moment he took over in January, Liberians started counting already. Do you see the president achieving that, considering what other Liberians call the slow pace in the setting up of his government?
So the Minister of Public Works is seated, right? Government is still being formed. Some people call it slow pace. Some people say the president just being meticulous because The quality of individuals who are being appointed to government are not up there. People were again criticized. But we had a cabinet meeting on Thursday, and I was talking to in that cabinet meeting when it comes to this road issue, and we're again assured by the Minister of Public Works, my brother Lafia Giddings, that is achievable. Because you see, Clarence, car were not just issuing everywhere. There were specific and strategic corridors that were experiencing those problems all the time. Going toward the southeast, whether you're passing through Nimba or you're passing through my country Grand Basset or you say other route, or you go into Lofa. They call them, how did someone describe it? Strategic corridor. That's the corridors that had those problems. He is on record again of assuring us that they're making all of the interventions to make sure that, yes, in those corridors where cars were getting stuck in the water, cars will not get stuck there. But let me tell you the bigger picture. In the past, the Ministry of Public Works established these things we call substations across the country in very terrible spots. They deploy their own yellow machines, deploy their own engineers. They're doing routine road work from time to time, right? And because of that, it becomes almost impossible for the road to get into that situation where it becomes unpliable. Because you see the bad spot, even in Monrovia, you see if somebody driving on a quota, you see a small spot that appears to be broken. People look at it, keep getting big. Either so on your phone, small so young, you start getting big. So that approach was to say, look, this part get very bad, and in the end, car starts talking because you see it developing problem and nothing is done about it. But these substations, we would be long-term thing for the rest of the 6 years of the government. Even when the roads are being paved, will be there. We'll keep maintaining those strategic places, and because of the continuous maintenance, it will be difficult, even not impossible, for any car to get stuck there. That's the approach. Meanwhile, as we even do that, they're looking at the pavement process of all roads. He did say at the place that we have, okay, I don't want to misinform the public, but there's the number of kilometers that he said will cover the entire country is big. But the percentage of that has been covered is just so small. In a combined period, if you take President Sirleaf's time plus President Weah's time, that's 18 years. In an 18-year period. So when he said it in the cabinet was like, if in 18 years we achieve just a small portion of this thing, will we do something substantive in 6 years? But the goal is, and tapping into internet. One thing I can tell you, and the details will continue to come out. This government has significant international goodwill. Right? We have our resources. I will argue, let's manage our resources because the public works minister did say we're investing 25 million in our road network for the past 18 years. That's a statistic. And when he was matching that to what is required to pave the number of kilometers of roads we have, his calculation was then it would take 100 and something years to complete all the roads across the country. So we can't do that. We cannot continue to invest 25 million because it's peanuts, knowing how much it will cost to pave just 1 mile of road. So the approach is tap into international goodwill because that's how it happened. They are going to Grand Basel County, I can feel so comfortable on that road. If not for international goodwill, we're not having. When Kevin went to Nima, he's driving from here straight on Kota until you reach Okanta. I'm told.
No, it's beyond. It's going to a scenic.
Exactly.
Yep.
So you see, progress has been made, but most of the progress, if you tap on it, it didn't just come from our resources because what we have been able to put in, based on the fact that everything in the country is a priority. Hospitals got to function, school got to function. So cannot take 50% of the national budget and put it in road work because the demand there is high. Of course, you can't do it because if you also look at it, the wage bill alone, and we need to talk about it on this show before the show ends. The wage bill, the money that has been spent on just paying people. And it got worse because it appears like in all these entities, government entities, people were just dumped there. And most of them towards the end. My ministry, for example, I talked to the personnel. The Ministry of Information has 413 employees.
Through the civil servant.
Clarence.
Is it so?
Eh?
Did they go through the civil service?
Well, that's why the approach that many of us taking, including my ministry, is from day one we having what we call personnel audit. The personnel audit will tell us how all of the people in these ministries and agencies got employed, whether they followed the different processes, even internationally.
Is the number too big? 400 persons for the ministry. Let's look at your
how did you leave it?
How I left it.
Mm.
I'm not sure I left it even at 200. Yeah, I'm not very sure about that. And the goal is not to say you can't employ people. Let's just be clear so that my sweet and good people at the Ministry of Information, so they can start panicking. They in good zeal. They launched a cleanup campaign the other day. I was very impressed. So we're not suggesting anything against their interest, but the personnel audit will help all of us. Because in my ministry alone, I gave you an example. The budget of the ministry, you know how much goes on personnel? 72% of the budget. So when people wonder why we can't do anything substantively, if you have a budget and 72% is just to pay people, then you can understand why Ledger who running sitting, I think it was you he was sitting with, when he was almost crying that he has 17,000 for operational budget. Then you can understand, Kevin, how can 72% of the budget of an entity be on personnel? What do you use for programming? We gotta be doing things on credit. Clarence, for example, say we want our money. You can't carry our show. We gotta want our money. I gotta be making the message. You have to do the bill. We find
and they all show say also want to do bill.
Yeah.
And
that's what it be like that. Clarence will send that thing. We pay them. But where the money? If the former minister had 17,000 for a whole year, you know what 17,000 is? Some of the entity they go buy stationary for 1 quarter, and not talking about the whole period for 1 quarter. It's more than 17,000. But that's what my brother and friend have for whole year for operation. So the problem is deep in a foreign service, for example. Towards the end of the administration, just dump people there. Look, things that are being unfolded, and it will come to you with it. Things that we're seeing in ministries and agencies, you will be shocked. And that's why, with all respect, listening to our president this on Sunday to a church talking about they coming to rescue or to do this, we want to respect our former president. I, for one, traveling abroad to go to school, Clarence, it changed a lot of things about me. And maybe one of the best things that ever happened in my life, even at the age I'm on, where I'm almost 60, is the fact that I had a chance to go to Harvard. Your perspective has changed. Our presidents.
That's why education does.
Our president should be respected. I want to be an information minister who doesn't talk back to my former president in a negative way. But my former president was as presidential. This is just 1 month since you left office. What is the rush about? What is it instead of you being that statement that you should be, even being concerned about how the country makes progress? What is it using your church platform now to be throwing jabs at the administration be a priority for you?
Because he believes that your government is witch hunting, is attempting to witch hunt people.
How?
In the context of what you're talking about.
How?
Under the guise of audit.
But then there's a problem. And the Bwaga administration will not draw back from the issue of accountability. So if I go to the Ministry of Information, for example, I just take what I Ministry of Clarence, no audit. Right? I just continue. Where am I working? What do I know I'm walking into? Audit will give me a picture of the kind of institution. Look, when you do audit, not necessarily to find rogues. Maybe there was no system. Oh, it's possible that people could have stolen. If you don't do audit, and who will do this audit? The current auditor general was not appointed by President Bwaka. As we're talking about people running behind people, have you heard anybody say they want Gaswa at the GSC? Was he not put there by the CDC? So a person he's appointed, the man and his whole team, he appointed them. Oh, they went witch hunting? Is that what we're saying? So Clara, no. The point I'm making, my orientation has changed. We should respect our past leaders. President Weah is one. Man thinking about doing that is not just with President Sally because I work with her. But then you got to carry yourself in a way that makes that respect to also be earned.
Okay.
Let's
Clarence, quickly. Let me just do a
I just
follow-up
wanted to
with-
say
I'll
something.
come in 1 minute.
Yeah.
Let's assume that President Sally, after President Weah came to power, didn't even give him any space and just all over the place. Like she the one who still want to be president. Attacking him and raising issues all over the place. Syrians and other people would have come after her. Because she's portraying herself as a regular politician and not that former president who should be highly respected. So all I'm saying, and I want to do that as an appeal, as a president, you may have concerns. But you were just here a month and a couple of days ago. When you came to power, someone made a policy position on our part that will not bother the government for 12 months. Because we know why it takes the wrong government. Let them put their bearing together, let them sit down. And after 1 year, you will know whether that government is moving in a positive direction or not. Then we can begin to flag the issues. In just 1 month, you left from here in a dignified manner.
Yeah, but Minister,
all of a sudden-
the perception is you came to power on the back of propaganda, bad imaging of the previous government. So they will not let you. They will not let you rest.
where you call
That's the
propaganda?
perception.
You heard me talking about
Are his points unrealistic?
you heard me talking about my brother Akara Gray and all the other people talking plenty. If I say why they're talking and you say I want people to rest, I'm talking about my president, who I want to respect as a former president. I'm saying if he makes himself that ordinary political person and is in the middle of the political discourse, then he got to be treated as such. I don't want to do that because I will lead the charge as the government information minister. But I want to respect my president. So just a humble appeal to him that look, Papa, you're not ordinary anymore. You are a former president, Your Excellency. You can't talk about battle line is drone, this one is battle line where? With who? So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying Portugal gave her any glory yet. Or they must not talk. Oh yes, I want you to bring a Carol Green on the show when they got that issue don't talk about it. Once they kind of not causing they're not doing anything, they're talking about what the issues are. Give them the space.
Well, Minister, I just want to do a follow-up to what Kevin asked
Yes,
concerning the issue of audit. Maybe it's not been properly explained in a simplistic manner for people to understand what financial and personnel audits are. So, would you quickly help us with what are you looking for when you talk about audit, personnel audit? When you say financial audit, what is the Buaka's administration looking for? But just while you go to that, I just want to remind you that the former president returned to the country recently. And he said he was going to get busy with his political party, which for me suggests that he's considering himself as an opposition now to your government. So don't be surprised if he goes to his podium and says that the government is not doing this and all of that. So brace yourself for that.
I'm not sure I said I'm surprised. I'm just saying if my former president does not carry himself as a former president and carries himself as an ordinary politician, he'll be treated as such. That's what I'm saying.
What do you look for? What are you looking for in the audits that you are conducting?
Personnel audit? You don't know what personnel audit is? I want to know the number of employees in my place. I want to know the processes used to put them there. Because there are established processes on how somebody gets employed as a civil servant. Were those processes followed? If, for example, like one of the ministers in our last cabinet meeting said, in December, at that time we finished with elections, we've gone for the runoff, everything finished. In December alone, 700 plus person dumped in the ministry. Why would you be doing that when the elections are already over?
Which ministry?
No, I wouldn't call it ministry to me. One of my cabinet colleagues just said it. Because a formal approach to all these things come here that we release to the public. We don't want to take it bit and pieces. That's just one example.
After the election, 700.
I said in December.
In December.
When you had the election, first round October, second round November. In December. Look. And I will say that before I gave you a chance to say the other thing you want to say, so I don't forget it. A big debate started about 40 million in the consolidated account versus 20 million in Buaka State of the Union address. Yes, one of the things we found out. So in November, after the elections, the government has some challenges in paying salaries. A loan of 83 million was taken from the bank. I'm told, and I have to confirm that needed the authorization of the legislature. The legislature was not contacted. The taking of that loan was not announced, but it was taken. Right? What that means is this, Kevin. If you even claim that you left 40 million in that account, but you have an indebtedness of 83 million, less than 40 million, you go to negative 43. And let me explain it in another practical way. I have my account in this bank, and I have 15,000 there, and I tell my kids, 15,000 in this account for you. But I owe that bank 25,000 in loan. I'm no longer working. In this case, like they were where they were going out. Clarence, you think my children had 25,000 in that bank? When I owe in the bank, I mean, my children have 15,000 when I owe in the bank 25,000? Because even the bank can clear that whole 15,000,
Yeah.
and I still owing them 10,000.
Right.
So in this case, you owe the bank 83 million. And accepting or assuming you actually left 40 million. If that 40 million is taken away by the bank because they have to have their loan, then you still have a negative of 43 million to pay them. So it means that this new government that you said you left 40 million for, or the central bank 43 million. So it means you didn't leave anything there for me, because what you left there will be taken towards that 83 million loan, and I will still be owing 43 million more.
Who is saying this?
That's why we found out. We have the file. Who run these entities down? They're not ours.
Okay. Minister, maybe Vavle will come in, then we take the lines. But something that Liberians are interested in and talking about is what I'm about to raise. Is the issue about the war crimes court. At some point, President Bouaka speaks about it. At another point, the president is conspicuously silent about it. What do you know? Has the president made any definite commitment to the international community that there will be established under his administration or during his administration a war and economic crimes court? What is the position of the government?
The media follow very religiously this 2023 elections. In fact, there was a group that documented, what was that group?
Tenured, yeah.
Yeah, they documented all the quote-unquote campaign promises of the president. The president's record, the president remains totally committed to accountability. Accountability goes beyond the question of war crime code. It's the same thing we're talking about audit. And my friend Matai were talking about somebody seeing audit at which home. No, it's just the same question of accountability. The president's own record, his records are clear from the campaign time as to what the thoughts were about war crime code. I don't think that has changed. But what could be the issue is this: people are not paying attention, Kevin, as to if you're going to have war crime code tomorrow, what does it require? It's not President Bouaka coming to address the nation and say tomorrow we'll start the war crime code. If you have war crime code here, the people who take the decision that will have to be signed onto by the president, you know where they are? It's the national legislature. That's step one. Step two, you don't have pipe-borne water. You don't have school. Your hospitals are empty. You're looking for money for them. So the second thing that goes along with that action from the legislature will be financial commitment. It's not a small thing to run to operate a war crime code. Go ask Sierra Leone. They just send few generals and go do a fact-finding mission there, they will tell you. So the very international people will have to be committed to supporting it. That should be. But the first step is for our people in parliament, in our legislature, to be the ones looking at it and determining that we are ready for this, to pass on to it. If they do, I'm not sure President Bwaka's commitment to it will change.
Somebody insists. Somebody
public-
insists that the first step is the political will from the president, and
Yeah,
we are
so-
told
so-
we are told that your president
Yes, sir.
has been having some conversations in Ghana about the coast establishment in Ghana. We're told that there are preparations for prison facilities either to be constructed or renovated in Ghana in the Winnipeg region so that whoever is convicted. So that's why I'm asking as to whether, do you know whether the president has made any clear-cut commitment to any of your partners about this court?
So if the information that you just provided is correct, then you still have that about political commitment.
I want the information minister to say it.
So your Ghana, your Winnipeg, your this, that, the information minister doesn't know about that, so he can say it. But it's good information for me, and maybe from here when I get to the executive mansion, that's a conversation we'll have with the president.
Minister, just before Kelvin,
But minister, you didn't
Just before-
say,
just before-
you didn't say
just
what the
before-
position of the government is on
No,
this
I
war
just-
crime
I
court.
said-
You're trying to shift the responsibility.
I said the president is on record for.
Minister, you want to come to the match more? You're not signing.
The president is on record for committing himself to accountability generally, to include even your war crime code situation, right? That hasn't changed as far as I know. All that I was saying, the pressing challenges we have that must be addressed immediately are the critical bread and butter issue, and that's what the government is focused on. Because there's a process to lead to that war crime aspect of the stuff. Our legislature should pass onto it, right? Then the president will require to sign onto it. But then there must be commitment internationally that we have resources, we have everything that are needed to do the war crime code. So, in other words, I'm just saying, even if you are to establish a war crime code, it's a process that will take time.
But to find out,
Minister,
Yeah.
the responsibility shifted at the legislature is not popular with the people. The
It's not shifting. No, let's get it correct. Let's get it correct. That's how we misinform the people. You're not shifting. It's what your law says. If you should move towards agreeing on the war crime code, it requires legislative action.
But the sentiment that is popular with the people saying,
No, wait a
but
minute, I'm
get the
coming.
question, get the
Vabler,
question.
wait a minute,
Yeah,
no.
but get the question
No,
first.
I will get a question.
What
but
is popular with the people
But that's why I don't
is
want
for
you
the
to,
president to set it up.
but that's not how it works.
Who gets involved or what is it's not a concern right
But
now.
is that how
That's the
it,
popular sentiment.
now listen
We're
to me
talking
now.
about the people
Listen
here.
to me. Don't you press, man. Don't give the people information that you know not right. The president don't have no power or authority to settle anything. The power or authority to set this all comes from the legislature. That's all I'm trying to tell you. So
Okay.
you as the media man will not follow the sentiment of the people and suggest that away from what should be done, that the president will just get us say, I set a war crime code. Is that how it works?
my final point.
No, it doesn't work like that. Yes.
My final point on that is the island-wide conversation. We are here to know whether this meeting was actually held here in Liberia between our president and island-wide.
So I pick up pieces from a tape that's been running around to be a conversation between President Bwaka and Alain White. I intend to have a conversation with the president about that. That hasn't taken place, right? But maybe you can help us to your journalism until I get to him. When the conversation took place, somebody to your and we were in Liberia and they had a conversation, or that's something they talked before the election time, or what. But whatever it is, I will have the opportunity to find out from him. But what I didn't well, when even won't have work on yet, that I didn't well set it up for her.
Conversation.
Minister, you're sounding like the setting up of the war crimes court is important, but
Very
at the
important.
moment it is not a priority of the government.
No,
am I
saying that.
correct?
I'm not saying no. You are wrong. I'm just saying the processes required to do that will take a longer time than people anticipate.
So, Minister, you also, I just want you to inform the public. Are you saying at this point, it is after the Bwaka Unity Party won the election is when you start to inform yourself about the procedures involved in establishing a war crimes code that is beginning with the legislature and going forward? And so, sir,
That's the
so
procedure.
just a moment. When you made a pronouncement to the Liberian people during the campaign, did you consider all these steps?
Obviously, we know that the president don't sit down by himself and just say how you work.
So do you still maintain your political will towards this action?
Absolutely. Is that why you
So which means you're going to engage the legislature concerning this, just as the way you engage the legislature concerning the spending budget for February.
When I talk about the whole of government approach, the legislature, the executive, judicial, we all want government. So consultations are everyday thing. You know, kind of analysis. So yes, on the question of work and co, everybody will be talking about it.
Okay.
I know we are going to the
Minister
lines,
NEC,
Vafle.
Yeah, we'll go to the
I know we are going to the lines quickly. I'm getting messages from my friends in Bujumbura about planned demolition exercise by the government there. Any information?
I had a brief conversation with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. They're following the situation in Ghana because we still have some Liberians in Bujumbura. So they are following what is taking place there. Once we get details of the situation there, we'll let the public know. But for now, is bilateral and diplomatic engagement between our foreign ministry and the folks in Ghana as to what is happening at Bujumbura.
Talking about bilateral and diplomatic relations, there's information that the previous administration did a massive deployment of staff at the end of its regime, you know, out there. What does it mean for your government? What picture does it present of the nation? Are these people qualified to fit in those areas that they've been deployed? So
the deployment issue all across government, including international places, are being looked into, as I said earlier. I'm aware, for example, that both the Senate and House Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs, they've been working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on this issue. Have visited the legislature and one of our leaders was just sharing with me, just not by opening anything, but just lifting a whole file and say, this is what we have. Just sharing information from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we're working together to try to resolve all of these issues. So it is something that has been looked into, because one of the places, haven't you heard people complaining that even in some places they threw our people out of the embassy? You know what's the cause? That money. When you send people on foreign mission, you have a lot of responsibility to them. The place they live, you pay the rent. They have insurance.
Right.
They have this. It's a huge cost. So if you throw people there because you live in power to do something in a way that the government hands are like this, they're not able to do anything, and they embarrass themselves internationally, the government is an obligation to look into that and do what they believe is the appropriate thing to do.
The WIAS administration, very quickly, the WIAS administration said it inherited a broken economy in 2018. In just maybe a minute, how would you describe what you inherited from the WIAS administration?
So an analysis that I gave you a few minutes ago should sum it up for you. The
Just,
administration say we leave 40 million in the play for you.
generally, how would you
say leaving the 40 million there? Then you, I see that you
just that one word.
how would you
Inherited.
describe
That one
how would you
word.
describe what you inherited from the WIAS administration?
I don't think I want to at this moment describe what was inherited from the WIAS administration, because a whole of government approach is being used to put together and analyze exactly where we were when we took over. Once that is done, if I say anything to you now, it will be my personal or the minister of information say this is what they inherited.
Wouldn't you suffice to say that you inherited debt, because you talking about 40 million and you have 83 million in debt? That is
It's
40
not,
subtracted from that.
it's not sufficient to some of what you inherited goes beyond that.
Okay.
And that's what I think it will be fair to allow what the folks are doing.
That word is there, but he doesn't want to let it out. But it's okay, Minister. Thank you for
Which one?
the word to describe what you inherited. But somehow, you know,
I think I want you to give me a little bit of space so that when I describe it, it captures every concern that should be across government.
so you're crossing all the T's and dotting the I's.
That's a well way to say it if you think so.
Thank you.
Okay, I wonder you to just speak about this low shedding LEC stuff, but if it's okay, then we can go to the lines.
So that's too technical, and I think
okay,
at the appropriate time you can call it LEC.
And then we can substitute that for the conversation on the private jet in your early days.
Oh, private jet.
Yeah, private jet.
Private jet. Good concern. And it's good that you brought it up. Here is my thought, and I have shared this talk with the president and the vice president. In the conversations we have about that private jet, we cannot and we should not mistake to conclude or to draw a conclusion that it is a taboo to fly private jet. That'd be a wrong approach. I was press secretary to President Sirleaf. I traveled extensively with President Sirleaf. A good percentage of my travel with President Sirleaf took place on private jet. in some cases, presidential jet, whether it's from Nigeria, from Ivory Coast, from Ghana. You know why that wasn't an issue? It didn't cost it didn't cost the country a dime. Right? If President Buhari is supposed to take a huge delegation to travel somewhere, he and all the members of the delegation, you buy their plane ticket, everything. And have plenty of money. Why they trying to do that? A good friend is right there with a private jet that can fly everybody free. Are we arguing and insisting, don't fly the private jet, spend the money you have to buy a plane ticket, everything, and go there?
But it was heavily criticized.
Where?
In the Weah's administration.
Then let me tell you this. To me, you forgot the story. The reason why Ellen Johnson said he flew private jet perhaps more than Weah. You know what? There was an issue with the Weah. In Ellington, you go to the airport today, you see a different jet. We travel to the airport, you go, you see a different jet. So people were thinking differently. In the case of President Weah, every time you went, you saw a particular jet. No information to the public. So you know what the conclusions were? People said he bought a private jet. And he and his communication people thought that it was okay not to say anything about it. Until after months of using private jet, and the president said, I'm buying private jet. My friend Burkina Faso just gave me the thing to pay my morale. Right? And if you watch keenly, when the president made that clarification that your friend was helping him, the whole noise of a private jet stopped. So the issue of a private jet on a president, we had become an issue because people saw a particular jet he was traveling with every day. And so the notion grew that he must have bought the jet until he clarified. But what will interest you also, even though he clarified that the jet was given to him by a friend to boost his morale, Front Page Africa did an analysis about the cost implication of President Weah flying private jet over the last 6 years. Read that article. It says how much was spent on that. You will not see what this government has spent for anybody in this government to ride private jet. You will not see what was spent for Ellen Johnson to ride private jet. That's the issue, and that's what I say.
Is there not an attempt to promote this? Do you, Minister? Do you not know that this thing is against the code of conduct in the first place?
I'm not promoting anything.
Are you justifying the reason why Joe Buhari or your vice president should ride a private jet? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not justifying. What I'm saying is not a taboo, and because you're concerned about somebody flying private jet is because it has cost implications for the country, and a poor country for that matter. If I should be paying for private jet in a poor country, I need to travel somewhere, then it's a concern. Because when I move commercial, I'm not going to have that kind of cost implication. So do we want to suggest that, I mean, you talking about code of conduct. They gave him the private jet to the man who flying it. They say for you.
It's a gift.
Come again?
Clarence.
So when John Brown jet fly a government official from here to Ghana, they jet for John Brown now.
But how does the
Mr. Minister, this is against
Clarence,
the code of conduct, and I don't know whether you should be speaking in this manner. Is this a justification? They should not be flying. Do you know that they should not be flying private jet in the first place?
The code of conduct expressly says they do not fly private jets.
We're talking about gift. So when you fly a private jet and come back and make it look, I come in, Minister. When you fly, no, it's not that it's for you.
Oh, okay.
When you fly a private jet and come back to it and make it look like, oh, it is my friend, the president just accommodated me. These are the things you criticized before. You said we are flying private jet all over the place. Your officials have started flying private jet, and you, the Minister of Information, you are attempting to make it look like, oh, now it's nothing. Before it was something.
You got it wrong. I'm just saying, and I would not walk back from that. I'm saying
mentioned earlier that, to at least save the country some money, that instead of us saying that we're going to spend, Vavle is the vice president, he's going to be spending $20,000 to go to Ghana, and there's a private jet available. So how does the public know that the $20,000 was saved and it's back into government's coffers? That explanation is needed, because if this person flies a private jet, it means that the money is saved.
The way the public should know is, for example, if it's the president that's involved, the press secretary should be able to communicate that, right? If it is the vice president, if it is the speaker, if it is the president pro tem, the media people in the respective offices should be saying, it should not be secret to the country that, okay, John Brown was traveling to this place, right? The cost of this trip is supposed to be around 50,000 or 60,000. we have an assistance. And so it will be of no cost to government. And so that money that's going to be used on a plane to make the trade count by the government revenue.
I think we should open a line.
Yeah, Fabio, please. I just want to do a quick follow-up here.
Then you have a problem with that. You say, no, we're not getting that jet. It's a taboo. Let them pay the 50, let them spend the 50,000.
What makes it an issue, Minister, is that Clarence today is the manager of OKFM, and until he becomes Director General of the LBS, I'm not saying he's going to take Fagon's job. Until he becomes Director General.
Until here busy has a Director General.
Right, I'm just.
The same way you were setting example with example is
I'm saying. So until Clarence becomes Director General of the state broadcaster, Vavle, who involves into car business and thing, he's here to take one of the expensive vehicles from his car dealership to give to Clarence to use. But the moment they make him Director General, he starts to give the limo and all of that and thing. That would raise concern that what favor is this guy looking for from Clarence? Isn't that concerning?
Favor?
Someone take the private jet and give it to somebody to buy without expecting anything in return?
But
Just friendship?
All the time, I flew private jet. I don't know any Johnson Sally. I know anything will get anybody for flying no private jet. Zero.
Okay.
Nothing.
Let's take calls.
Nothing.
Call us on 0880.
When I was talking about the Tenure people, my main client was putting all the effort on code of conduct. Right? And even though he didn't see the code of conduct that I was saying the people violated, he said, we're not so to hammer the people. But when it comes to trying to,
no, I'm not saying you.
When it comes
Minister, no, I didn't say you should not hammer the people. I said there is a process in 5.9 that talks about due process. So that due process, because you were creating a picture about ombudsman and all those kinds of things, and I said in the absence of that, there is supposed to be a due process before you condemn these people. You must have heard them.
Okay, so it's the same code of conduct you rely on to condemn the people right private. Have you done the due process?
Due process to do what? The law, they didn't say we should investigate them. Conflict of interest comes in. If you're vice president of the country, if you're president of the country and you ride a private jet of your friend, and that friend is supposed to have probably a business interest in Liberia, what do you do?
Does he have one?
Well, you tell us.
When the conflict of interest comes in,
you tell us.
Doesn't have.
So the government not able to pay for these people to travel? Is that what you're telling us?
Pay, but then it's a cost to you. So then somebody say, that means I already going in the direction, getting the plane, let me drop you. You say no. Pay the money, don't go in that plane.
No, but our president, our vice president shouldn't be a jet people who put a kind of plane. The president is not. No, I think the minister, the president is not kind of good person.
No, let's take calls. Let's take calls.
I do know.
And you say that somebody who just they can't get anything. You did not get in there.
But minister, the president, the vice president, cannot go. People cannot go. Let me write you.
Cannot go.
No, let's take calls.
Look, we got a security arrangement, right? Before the president or vice president enter anybody plane, there's a lot that is done. So now just cannot go there and say, Clarence, they are traveling from Douala. I just start my car and say, Clarence can join inside. You don't even know where I get bumped in the car, join inside. That's not what we're talking about here. No, that's not what we're talking about.
So call us on 0880-514-096. Good morning, Minister. You can wear it.
Oh, I'm wear it thing?
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. And the minister in studio.
Go ahead. What's the name?
Yeah, probably Amanda Sharif, and I join you for Jacobstown Peace Island Community.
Let's hear you.
Yeah, people, family. They were often shared by our president Jerolinmek, that if he becomes president of this country, and if the current minister in studio that here, they share under our leadership, there will be no minister information for culture and fair and tourism. They want to say today, having the minister and the minister and the Jerolinmek is serving as the foreign minister.
Yeah, because they don't go through the law. They have to submit to the legislature. They act on it.
I thought that
good morning.
Good morning, let me say good morning to Veteran Clarence Jackson, Kevin Deming, Piah, and the Honorable Minister in studio. This is activist Martin Renner. And I do join you this morning from CEO, the biggest intellectual center in the Republic of Liberia.
Hey, McLean, go to the issue.
Vapi, take your time. Honestly, I was a minister, has said it all. It's just only one that I want to draw to his attention, which I believe in my mind this morning in the last question, and I will respectfully launch his analysis on the private jet business. Let us be clear here. The bad president say it is not a walk in the park. His argument here this morning says to us that in fact the bad president, case that like staying on Broad Street waiting for his taxi.
Oh, McLean. Yeah, but you have to end quickly, my man.
They want to defend the minister, no problem, come and have the problem. But I'm clear here. Please, 7 seconds. He said he analyzed that is
AC you. Now me call you over. Mr. Cyrus Badi is on the line. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, gentlemen, and good morning, Minister Piah. Once again, congratulations.
Thank you, brother.
For the past 2 hours or so, the only time I heard the word culture or tourism mentioned was in the introductory statement when you were being introduced as the Minister of Information, Culture Affairs and Tourism. That tells me, and maybe wrongly, that there's not much premium placed on culture or tourism. Minister, don't you think it is about time now that we begin a discussion regarding detaching the cultural sector or tourism sector from the Ministry of Information, given that the Information Ministry may be a little bit too overwhelmed in propagating government policies? Mind you, tourism brings a lot of resources to the economy. Gambia, for instance, generates a significant chunk of its resources from tourism. So don't you think it would be good for us to start that discussion so that the tourism will not be part of the Information Minister, or culture per se will not be part of the Information Ministry? I will be interested in listening to your answer.
Thank you so much. Let's hear from this person. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. How you doing?
I'm fine. Quickly, go ahead. 30 seconds.
I'm just this is RJ. I'm calling you from the Tenure area. My problem, I do agree with the minister in studio there. Just before the campaign, just a few days, after the campaign, just a few days to the inauguration, for instance, the National Public Health Institute of Liberia, the DG that is there, Chimakale, carried 25 persons for employment just a week before the inauguration, including a Nigerian national, just to constrict the payroll of the National Public Health Institute of Liberia, to make this government to be like, yes, this government has failed. So these are things that some of us will really support the issue of this personnel audit. It shouldn't just be personnel audit. Let us look at 6 months, 1 year back, to see some of these people, the work they've done for the past 1 year before. Because some of these things, what I'm saying, just a week before inauguration, 25 persons, they just carry them, put them in the various departments, let it may be too, put the other person through.
Okay, yeah, let's go to the next person. Good morning. Morning.
Yeah, good morning to you, my child, and let me say good morning to the minister, the honorable minister in person.
Good morning.
Yeah, go ahead quickly.
Good morning.
Let me first of all, thank the minister how really answering all of your questions and the questions. But I think for the issues of the plane, that is why we have a state, and the state is capable of paying every expenses. That should not be the excuse of, if someone is saying, come and take free rides. When our president, our vice president are reached, it is not about offer. The state is clear, the constitution is clear on it that every offer given today now, it is possible. So for me, I don't want my president to be implicated in anything they said. When they're talking about it, they just think this they help me.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Let's hear from this person. Good morning. Good morning. Hello. Yeah, go ahead quickly. Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, this morning, I just want to congratulate all of you. Thank you so much for the question being asked to our minister. But it's just a little bit sad this morning, the way in which he attended to answer this question. It's not clear about this money question, especially the one I have to do in work quote. He's not too clear about it. And asking where they did met, otherwise he say, oh, you got to go by and ask the president all the one there. So you have to be clear about information.
Okay.
If, for example, you come in on air, there are some doubts, you have been here around the corner, it is good also you clarify those things from whatever sources you think before you come on air.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Go ahead.
Good morning to the studio there. How you doing, sir?
Go ahead quickly.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
I really enjoy what he's saying. I've been listening to him from the beginning. I'm Elton Gongwe calling from Concession, Peace Island. Concerning the war crime code, Liberians need to hold their peace for some time because we don't have security. Liberians stay insecurity. So we cannot force the government once the government is still in transition. So we need to hold our peace and look up to the government after the appointment. The things going to be better for us. But we can't force the government now to sign the war crime code.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Let's hear from this person. Good morning. Good morning. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, Vavle, and good morning to the eloquent minister. This is Morris Moses Mogai, and I'm the national chairman for the Bagas County Tengakoi from Jacobstown. Honorable Minister, let me firstly appreciate the president for appointing you. I think the president was wise enough to have seen the compelling need that someone like your character was needed at the Ministry of Information. And let me say this. You have clearly articulated the dreams and vision of our government, and as such, like we said, you are best suited for the position. Vavle and other journalists, you guys are aware. Look at pop structure that the past government led there. Go to the NTA, my colleagues were taking over the NTA. That plane was lying in rain. Those people destroy public infrastructure. They destroy the country. Like he said, the issue of payroll audit, go cover that bidding. What am I for? And I'm putting money 500% on payroll. What did you go cover the public audit?
Okay. Okay, Morris, let's hold you there. Let's hold you there. Thank you very much. Let's hear from this person. We can take at least 2 calls and go back to the minister. Good morning.
Yeah, I think again, sorry, you know, my call, wasn't you that off my call. But quickly, let me on this quickly. We gotta be clear. I understand that you are part of the last government, defending government. Minister Jeremiah, I make it clear. Sometimes the minister need to have a very hard question so at least you can dissect and understand it well. For the issue quickly on the trial, I believe the vice presidential is not a walk in the park. The vice presidential will be stuck down all course. At no point in time, over Jeremiah cannot say to us as a Liberian in fact, he please ticket wearing both by the gun or by himself.
Okay.
In the airport. It's almost like he picked out a picture to have been. He stood on Broad Street. Why standing on Broad Street? And then his friend giving you a lift to reach over town or single. No, is that the friend there's a look like? I believe in my mind that was all. And at no point in time, what was condemned in last government, in past government, is to be condemned in this government.
Okay, McLean, your message going across. Thank you very much. Let's hear lastly from this person. Morning.
Vavle.
Yeah, morning. What's the name?
And I make a pleasant good morning to your colleagues, the different journalists in studio. And I make a pleasant good morning to you, Minister Piah. My name is David Kuye Nangwe.
Good morning.
From my two community residents. I want to appreciate you on the conversation, and I think you said it quite clearly. The law is clear that the president can dismiss for cause, and the established cause from the executive is that those individuals who are protected by tenure were caught in campaign. So I think it's clear. There's a precedent case. What?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the former GSC boss was protected by tenure, but you were dismissed subsidy for cost. So that equally an established cost. Take for example, people in any position should be nowhere around the process of campaign. And the fact that they were in clear violation of the law, the president needed to act. So the action of the president is legit, and I think if they have any grievances, they should go to court, because that is the other area to ensure that the grievances are somehow looked into. So
thank you very much. Morning.
Good morning, family. Good morning to Minister Piah. Good morning to the other journalists in studio. My name is Feseli Sumo. I call you from Monrovia.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've got two issues very quickly. Let me just remind the minister that the law provides that any gift above the value of 10,000 United States dollars given to the president should be reported to the public. So the question on the private jet issue, which is way above that value, is whether it is the president requesting those gifts or whether those gifts are being given to him. If they are, then he should be reporting to the public, and the public should not be guessing on them. The other point is, in 2017, the legislature established the office of the ombudsman. Now, that office is responsible to adjudicate any case arising from the code of conduct. The problem is that that office has not been staffed. The question to the minister is, what is preventing President Joseph Boakai from staffing the office of the ombudsman and making it active so that it carries out its function of adjudicating cases arising from the code of conduct, which will help with this whole tenure argument. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you so much. Morning.
Yeah, good morning, Vavli, and good morning to the guest in studio, the minister. Thank you. The previous government, that was in 2022, we were told of a moratorium, passed by the former president, George Weah, on the establishment of new radio stations. I mean, they were not doing so, but later on in 2023, there are some radio stations were told, some institutions that were, given the go-ahead by the government through the Ministry of Information, the permit.
You know the name of the radio stations that were established recently?
Phoenix was permitted, which that was even given 2024, Phoenix.
Okay.
Yes, 2024 instead of 2023, while we're staying in 2023. That's one. Two. We also want to look into the plan of the minister as it relates to regulating the media in keeping with ethics.
Okay.
That is radio stations. We know some of them have been operating in the kind of line of a Kingali operation. We'll sit, what broadcaster will sit and announce fake election results, which undermines the National Elections Commission. How you intend to deal with these kind of institutions, because they're not doing it in keeping with the law. They are in violation.
Okay, thank you. Minister, we can take more calls, or we're going to take just two more? Yeah, two more, okay. Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And let me say good morning to Veteran Minister Piah.
Good morning.
I speak officially for the Wakakun think tank. My name is Defela C2B2, and I'm in Monrovia. Look, the minister was crystal and clear with the information provided. Instead of the president or the vice president, while traveling, instead of spending money on government expense, when you have an opportunity where someone is giving you a lift, then you say that the president should say no because the law says he spent money. I think it was saving the resources of the country, and it should not be like the minister said. The reason why the issue of private jet was raised during President Weah's administration because the president consistently lied. When the president took a private jet to Senegal, he said it was a friend that gave it to him only for us to go and check. There was 100,000 plus that was taken from the central bank regarding that particular travel. So it was a lie. So the president lied. But in this case with Mr. Boakai and the vice president, it is not the case. So we should be able to understand it like this, brother. It's easy.
Okay, thank you. Lastly, good morning.
Good morning, Vavli. And let me congratulate the Minister of Information, Honorable Piah. My name is Adolfo Skawa, and I'm calling from Monrovia. There are two things quickly. We've seen in times past, ministers will come and talk about the ELBC being a state broadcaster and not as a campaign machinery. Those have been mere words over time. I'd like to know from the minister, being the chair of the board, what practical steps he's going to take to ensure that the true essence of the state broadcaster is realized and not being just a mere machinery for political campaigning. Secondly, and lastly, I'd like to draw his attention to this issue about the payroll cleanup. I think it has to be a holistic drive by the government of Liberia. I remember sometime in 2019, there was this national payroll cleanup task force that was constituted, comprising different institutions like the IAA and other anti-graft institutions. So it has to be holistically done so that the entire central payroll is cleaned of ghost names, no shows, and all of that, because piling the payroll, there are some people from the last exercise that I know we did from the IA angle, we realized a significant amount of money was saved just from the ghost names and no-show individuals who are just on government central payroll, but for example, are not even there's no attendance record and all of that to validate their employment status. So it has to be holistic and not just, doing it singularly by institutions. That way you realize the true essence of what you want to achieve and you can clean the payroll centrally. Thank you.
Thank you. Double dippers as well, taking pay here and there. Yeah. So, Minister, you can respond to these concerns. I mean, barrage of them.
And I will start with Adolphus. What we say about ELBC will not be lip service. I think I have to move this one. Yes. What we say about ELBC will not be lip service. And maybe Adolfo should be aware that there was this act to transform the Liberia Broadcasting Institution into
public
broadcaster. The president is still very committed to that, even though it's something that happened way from Ellington. And then it was not done. President Wiakim is gone. I can assure you it's going to happen under the Boaka administration. Because, in fact, when I was at the legislature for my confirmation hearing, Senator Wellington Jivon Smith particularly raised that, and I gave him the assurance that we'll work with the administration to ensure that is achieved. And the concerns are genuine. You were sitting around here, they gone last election. Even though you were here, you were doing your thing, but the whole player was a political theater. We can understand. No, I mean, you were here, you sitting around before me, so I can say, Clarence, when I hear Clarence to your station, so that you were here. But this place, some of my good friends, all the people who were running the place, they have people that I'm very close to. But it was all about politics. You guys are supposed to serve everybody. Government comes, then government will go. Then what happens? And that's the reason why we got problem in the structure, government-wise. John Brown kind of just bringing people all over the place. The other person kind of bringing people over. No merit-based approach to, creating a professional and standardized public service workforce. We just got to reach a point where we stop it. And transforming your BC into that state broadcaster will change that. People can come here because the rules will be clear. You come here and do your own thing. You want them to be committed to some political authority because they appointed you, they gave you the job. And, it can't be that way. The second thing Kawhi talked about, which is the whole question of personnel audit. Yeah, Kawhi, it's going to be holistic. There are so many things that will happen holistically. Asset recovery, for example, is something that the president is committed to. They will constitute eventually our asset recovery team. But if I went to the Ministry of Information, for example, and the whole government is not ready for personnel audit, do I wait until the whole government is ready? No, I think the law provides that whatever institution is responsible for it can come and handle my entity if I'm ready. Because when I was at the Senate, it was Jivon Smith who reminded me that he looked in the Ministry of Information budget and he saw some money there for audit. Because the GSC now just coming to audit you free. You got costs. So if you have the money, you currently can't do anything for now, they will do it. They will not wait for the whole of government approach. Notwithstanding There's a commitment to do the whole of government approach. Let me come to Sarah's question before I forget. I would have talked a lot about ERBC, not ERBC, about Ministry of Information, talk about the culture, talk about tourism, talk about everywhere. If this show was just to talk about the Ministry of Information. But this was to talk about all the outstanding issues concerning the government. So yes, there are plans, but here is a real thing, Sarah. The act to create a National Tourism Authority was passed halfway during the last administration. For some reason, it didn't cross the walls of both houses of the legislature. During his State of the Union address, President Walker made reference to that and said they would take whatever was passed by, I think, one side of the lower house. The lower house. He said, we'll take it, look at it, strengthen it, and resubmit so that we can create the National Tourism Authority. So there's already a realization or recognition that putting a structure such as tourism and culture on MICA, which is basically, in my mind, a political entity, will not allow it to go anywhere. So that realization has been made. The president with his team will resubmit the law. The National Tourism Authority will be established. And after that, the Ministry of Information will just be Ministry of Information. So much work has been done in that regard already, Sarah. We know the potential of tourism. You gave a good example that we all know about Gambia. That's a small landlocked country. They ain't got resources, but it makes millions annually out of tourism. That's how they operate as a country. So we are aware, and I'm sure the National Tourism Authority will solve that problem. My other comrade said I was not clear on War Crime Code. Let me speak again. The Bwaka administration is committed to accountability generally to include a question of War Crime Code. Notwithstanding, all of the processes that are required to reach us there will be allowed to work. And while we're working towards that, all of the things that should matter most to the country will be paid attention to. MTA, one of the colleges mentioned MTA. They appointed all the young people, whether you know how many buses they met there? 2. You said National Transit Authority, and you get 2 buses. When we exited in 2018, I think they have 45 buses. If you're doing business, you look at it. You run your own private business, you get 45 buses. 6 years later, you got only 2, and the 2 not even functional. Something got to be fundamentally wrong. That was complete state failure, yeah, comrade. That we have a commitment to address. But don't forget that we've been here for just what? How many days, Kevin? 45 days or less? So we solved them. The commitment is there. What was any other question that I left on?
I think you addressed them all.
Okay, somebody said, what's stopping Joseph Walker from establishing an office of ombudsman? The code of conduct was passed when I was an official of the Ellen Johnson Saliva administration. Then we passed that time, we came to the Georgia administration. 6 years passed. The president has been in office for a little over a month. Nothing is stopping him. The law requires it, he will do it. And I hope that answers his regulation of media entities. Entities, somebody raised that issue.
Yeah.
Talk about many people around here doing Kigali style, and they say they got moratorium on opening new radio station, but then certain people opening radio station. I'm not going to be that information minister who's afraid of certain media institutions because I think they will be critical. And I will not be part of a process that says we have moratorium, we're not opening a new radio station, but my friend Clarence comes to me, you want to open a radio station again, they go ahead. That's as the government representative in this sector, that's not going to happen under my watch. If there's moratorium, there's moratorium. But do we even have a need for moratorium? I think we should continue to expand the media landscape. And what is most important is what the brother said, the regulation. And I have called on the press, over and over. Sometimes self-regulation is good. Because when the government becomes the sole regulator, then the same media will come by and start crying to say the government is trying to clamp down on the media. The Piah can do more to take the media into self-regulation. And then we can just be, for example, The government used to be the one to accredit individual journalists. During the administration of Louis Brown, they signed a memorandum with the PEL to say, look, we can register media institutions, but to continuously register media personnel is like, if I have problem with Daniel Sano as a journalist, I could decide not to register him. So they turned that part of the responsibility over to the PEL after they signed the memorandum. So what we were doing as a government was to pay attention to the institutions, while the PEL pay attention to the individuals. And I thought that since they did that in 2014, we have not had a problem with an individual who is a media personnel crying about he not be allowed to do his registration, which is good. But even at our level, I was getting briefing from Nagata, who heads the communication bureau. The small fees they have, some of the media institutions have refused to pay. But they don't stop them from operating because of that. Because people are not looking at the fact that the person did not pay, but when you stop them, oh, they now the media people now operating. There's history there. Look at Patrick Warner Punch F in the bed over the requirement. It took 6 years. It was just on the eve of the government leaving power before today the Gaston called Punch. That's not going to happen here. No matter how critical we know you to be against the government, when you meet the requirements, we allow you to run your entity. And we encourage the PEL to work with us so that we do stronger regulation just to have a responsible press, not for fear of anything.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, gentlemen, we'll have to close up. It's already 10:30. I mean, is it 2 hours, 30 minutes of discussion? Clarence Jasin, OKFM, Kelvin Demi, Pram FM, Matthias Labandi, Sky FM. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being on this interview. And we'd like to say, Honorable Minister, thank you very much.
Now that we have done ELBC, which I said was my commitment, because it's a state broadcaster, maybe next time we'll sit with another wider team in OKFM studio.
Okay.
Another time, the team will sit at Prime. I'm looking forward to even sitting at Freedom, where my ambassador friend Abraham Gosling William sits at Controller U. I'm not going to stay away from. Once a media entity is established, the register they're operating, we engage them. Because you will disagree with me, but I feel happy. And Clarence, he pushed me around here plenty, but he probably just been there. But that's my position. You can put me, Kevin in the city at night and you can, I will still keep my position. So if I go to Freedom, Abraham Gosling, I will answer to the best of my ability.
Right.
If it's satisfying, it's up to him. It's satisfying, it's up to him. But we have the conversation. Without creating blacklists here, we deal with all media entities. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Information Minister Jerolinmek Piah. My name is Vafli Kamara. Join me tomorrow for another fascinating presentation of the Super Morning Show. Bye-bye.